I got into a consultancy in a partnership, and we decided that we were going to get out of consulting a couple of years down the line. And that consultancy, we first built a nice reserve. We built a lot of money in reserve to get out, but it just blew up. Partnership went wrong. I lost all of that money. And I think why I use it as a defining moment is when we lost the money, when we lost the business, it was at a time when I was about to get married. So I had sent word that I'm coming to pay Lobola. I don't know if you guys have it here.
Yeah. This is all over Africa. Some tribes are a little bit aggressive around it.
Yeah, so that's where I was going.
Tell me how aggressive yours is.
That's where I was going. Basically,
Okay.
I had to have a couple of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But I think for me, because I was marrying into a very rich family, I remember, man, I had the decision to stop the wedding, to stop the whole negotiation, and truly be honest and explain that now I'm in a situation, I've lost my business. I can't come for the marriage anymore. At the time, I had just over 150K personally. So I could have used that money to start over. In dollars, that should be, maybe to give you context, 150 should be about $9,000.
Yeah.
$9,000.
$9,000. That is about $1 million Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could have really paused and used that money to start over.
To start your business.
To start another business.
Mm-hmm.
And said, maybe let me delay the wedding and come in a couple of months down the line. But you know, when you're in love, when you're a man of faith, you say, by faith, let's do this thing. Let's come. So I went, and now when I'm there, I remember I got asked the question that your wife, this new wife that you're marrying, is going to be fourth year in law school next year. Who's going to pay her school fees now that she's your wife? And it hit me only then that, oh, flip. I didn't think that far.
Really?
I didn't think that far. I only thought about what I was going to pay on the day.
Exactly.
And the wedding that was coming. Because the other question was, do you need us to help you financially for the wedding? And now when your family is sitting with you and they've been singing your praises that we are bringing you a man among men. And the in-laws,
you're bringing you a man among men.
Among men. And now the in-laws are asking, do you need our help financially for the wedding?
Yeah.
There's literally only one answer in front of everyone. Yeah? So I said, no, I've got this.
You said no?
Yeah, no. I've got this.
Wow.
I've got this.
Why do you think they were asking you that question?
I don't know. There wasn't any malicious intent behind asking. It was just a genuine question.
Yeah.
Do you need us to help you? It was asked in a nice way. So I wouldn't blame them or anything. Maybe the timing could have been better if they'd asked after.
That's what I'm thinking. Or I would not ask at all. Just wait and see and
Just
see.
wait
You would love to. Yeah.
To their credit, though, I would say the family did support after. So they were genuine with the question.
In the asking.
Yeah, they were genuine. It was just my ego in the moment that hit me so hard. I I answered in that way, that I've got this. And then we went on.
Do you think as men we struggle with the ego? And how do you think we do?
I know we do, especially in public. Maybe in private, you might ask for help, but many guys generally struggle, especially in a situation where, one, if you're going to get married, you're trying to make a statement that your daughter is safe with me. And you want to just beat your chest up and say, I've got this. And questions like that challenge that part of your manhood, and you want to just, even if you don't know how you'll figure it out, you want to say, no, I've got this.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm good. So that's where I was. And a lot of guys struggle with it. I think the position that it puts you in is you're less logical and you don't run the numbers and you're more emotional. And for me, that meant all my savings were gone. And the start to marriage was with no business, no savings. You see now?
Yeah.
Because ego and emotion took over. That is how. So what that led to was a 4-year cycle of watching, being kicked out of apartments, losing my car, I lost literally everything that was there to lose.
Really?
Yeah. Over a 4-5 year period.
How did it happen though exactly? So you've jumped ahead. You go ahead and have this lavish wedding. Did you?
Yeah, the wedding, yes. The wedding had already been, bookings had been made. Deposit had been paid. So the balance of whatever was left in what I had just went into paying off the rest. I remember even during the wedding day, just sitting and looking around at the suits and seeing who's going to give nice gifts. Maybe more cash can come as a gift to see what I'll get. Fortunately, because of some of the people that were there were enough gifts to cover the school fees.
For the lady?
Yeah.
They actually... How did you answer the question, by the way?
No, I said I've got this.
No, there were 2 questions. Do you need help with the wedding? Now that you're marrying this woman, who's going to pay for her? And you said, I've got this for both questions.
Both questions.
Ntando.
You don't be judgmental. I just praised you.
You just praised me.
Yeah. But I judge myself just as hard. But look, it's ego can do that. A lot of young men are getting themselves into those situations as well, where you don't sit and run the numbers and just, if I could wait for 6 months, the situation looks significantly different. And
do you think that the girl was in a hurry?
No, it was me in a hurry. It was me in a hurry. I don't know. This one would be bordering on controversial. I think because I grew up Christian. Yes. And devout and working for the Lord and serving in church, I didn't want to do other things.
Yeah.
So now the pressure was getting too much. So we had to get married.
But you see, Mr. Ntando, a lot of people have asked me why I got married.
Yeah.
And I've always told them, I think I was just horny. I'm telling you.
Well,
because there was nothing I was looking forward to in marriage. First of all, I did not understand it. The marriage between my father and my mother was bad. The marriages around me were all not good at all. And for me, my first sexual intercourse was in marriage. Okay. You could imagine the kind of pressure that I was having, you know. And I wouldn't say that was a good thing for me, because I would find it very difficult to cheat because it was not my life. I can only fantasize about it.
There are benefits, certainly.
There are very serious benefits. And when people say they struggle with sticking to one woman, it's all I know.
Congratulations on that.
Easy. But let's get back to I get you wholeheartedly.
So you are... my version was a more political way of giving the same answer that you gave. You were just a straight shooter. So that's exactly what my reason was for rushing, because I could have waited. And I think things would have looked significantly different.
Yeah.
But because I didn't, and it became then a challenge that I have to deal with in marriage, because you're starting marriage with someone from a wealthy family and you're introducing her to the kind of poverty that she's not used to. And to her credit, I would say she fought tooth and nail to keep things together. But I kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. What made it worse was because my dad passed away when I was in high school. When I had an opportunity then now to work, I went and told my mom that she can stop working because I've got this. I wonder, my ego is quite... And I said, my 2 young sisters that are in that are in private school, not boarding school, small private school, not the super expensive ones, they can come stay with me, and I've got their fees as well. So when all of this happened, lost the business, got into marriage, the 2 sisters were staying with me, and then my mom was not working anymore. She was fully a dependent. I think the weight of my mom being a dependent, my sisters, a new marriage, it got so much for me. I was probably clinically depressed, but never got diagnosed. So I was those men that walk around with scars, not diagnosed, and they don't look for help. They just taking it out on everyone that's around them. You're hopeless, you're depressed, you're distressed, you're discouraged, and anyone who dares say anything next to you becomes a victim. I always joke and say I was that guy that if you come and say we need money for bread, I'll look at you and say, do I look like bread to you?
Wow.
That's what depression can do. Funny enough, in that whole time, I think the thing that brought me to the point where I realized I need help was when I sat and my mom was crying and we were talking about what we were going to sell in her house to get by. And we literally did get to sell some parts of her furniture, TVs and double door fridges and stuff. We sold quite a bit to get by. That is what broke me, because I sat and realized, my God, what have I done? And then in that moment of desperation, I was fortunate because there's a mentor that found me, which I said, come and stay in my house. I hear you're going through life. And because I didn't have a choice, I just went and stayed with them. And man, that was my breakthrough.
There's a lot. But I want to go back to this woman that you married.
Yes.
She comes to you, she comes over, you guys start living. On the other side of the stream, her parents are doing well. But she's stuck over here with this man. How does she help you because you say that she fought tooth and nail to save it.
Yeah.
How did she do that? And what happened that broke her?
We ended up divorced. And when I say she fought tooth and nail, I say in terms of trying to go for counseling, she would suggest. She would try in terms of trying to support me, in terms of noticing when I am in a bad space and giving me space. She got quite artistic around how to tiptoe around me, which is sad, really. And she would try and encourage. But it got to a stage where I think the communication just was not landing both ways, and we were not getting each other to the point of just separating, which was a mistake, actually, because if we had separated and not divorced, we would have fixed the relationship, because we got to be amazing friends after. But because at the time, I always attribute it to how early it happened in my life, because I was about 28 going to my 30s during that whole phase. It happened early. I was a bit immature to handle the kind of pressure that I faced. If I had faced that now, I would handle it a whole lot differently. But at the time, I was not mature enough to handle it. And I really failed. So she tried the best she could to do what a young woman, because she's 7 years younger than me, so she tried to do the best she knew how. When it comes to the wealth that was in the family, she would not flaunt it. She would not accuse me. So I never heard things like, what kind of man are you? Or why are you buying this cheap thing? She would be creative around managing the little budget that is there to put up a meal together so we could have something. So I think she did. Man, she did. I traumatized that woman.
Oh, yeah?
But I've apologized to her, because when you reflect in hindsight and see just how far she was going to try and make things work, and you were not seeing at the time, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. That, I think, is a classic case of a woman ending up going and saying, I gave it everything that I have.
You think she did?
And I have nothing left
to give.
Yeah.
How did you meet her?
Well, we met at church. I met at church in Joburg, and she was a singer, so I guess
Singer every
she was in the worship team, so I guess she sang one day and the heart said yes.
Do you remember some of the things do you remember her sitting you down at the culmination of this marriage and telling you? What do you remember her telling you?
She not sitting me down per se, because I think if she had tried to do that because of just the space I was in, that conversation just goes sideways really fast. I think that's the problem when you're depressed and when you're not aware, because you don't realize when the partner that you have is trying to help. You are always in defensive mode, and even a hello, can we talk sounds different. I think that's when I started to realize some of the words that men hate to hear. Let's talk. He. Ah. I come in and you say, we need to talk. What have I done? What now?
I'm not ready for this.
And you don't even know what she wants to talk about, man.
Yeah. You come up with the questions of what I really don't like my wife telling me we need to talk. And I just say it without saying we need to talk.
Don't use those words. So ladies, don't use that line. It just lands different.
Yeah, it really lands different.
I thought it was just me. So I'd say she would try and have those. Maybe she would have, if she had been taught later, she wouldn't have used those lines. But she would get into these conversations and ask me what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to work on. But I think the worst part is when she's trying to help and asking you these questions and you don't know the answers. But then you're angry because you don't know the answers and you don't want to show yourself a fool, or you don't want to show her that you don't have a plan. You just respond from aggression to cut the conversation short. You're not man enough to say, you know what, I have no idea. Can we brainstorm? That simple line would have changed the conversation. But she comes, tries, what are we working on? And you just say, hey, leave me alone, I'm busy, or I'm tired.
Yeah.
The answers don't come. To the point that someone then is either afraid or tired of asking.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you lost your business and remained with the $9,000 that you then burnt through your wedding, after the marriage, how did you get something solid to do?
No, I think because we were consulting, we had some jobs coming in on the side. I had, because now I was alone. I was not in partnerships anymore. But there were small jobs. And the weight of the bill that I had accrued for myself. You remember, mom is not working. She's a dependent. The girls, too, are in school and I have to cover their fees and accommodation. And now you are in this marriage as well. There's that bill as well. That comes with expenses, because where she was going to school was quite a drive from where we were staying. So you start to realize, oh, we need fuel every day for her to go to school. And that's the whole year. So even if I had some small hustles that were still left, they were not barely keeping up. I think they would cover half of the weight of the bill that I had accrued. And that's where depression then started setting in, because I felt stuck, I felt lost, I felt hopeless. And there's a moment as well I think that's why I cried. Now I remember when I
Yes.
bought the house, because
Yeah.
I remember crying again. I think those are the two moments I remember crying. The one time
Yeah.
was during the peak of this dark spell,
Yeah.
where I was thinking, but why did my father have so many kids? Now they are my responsibility.
Only two. Only two, Tando.
my friend,
Only two.
my friend, my friend, when you're depressed, they feel like 10.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
They feel like 10.
They do feel like they really do feel like 10.
And then I felt so guilty, like a moment after that, because I was thinking, how selfish are you? Because he could have easily decided to not have kids, and you wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So that's a bad way to look at it. At least in that moment, I cautioned myself, brought myself back to my senses. That's why when I got out of all of this, it was overwhelming to say,
Yeah.
man, God is good.
Yeah, unbelievable. How did because who started the divorce case? Did you? She said, "I have nothing to give for this thing." She came to you, asked you, so I am going back to my father.
She went back to when we got separated. It got to a point where we couldn't stay together.
Yeah.
Even logistically, I think I was so broke at the time. I was staying in, we call them government houses, RTP house. I was sharing rent, 500 rands, which would be about $25 per month rent, or slightly less. But I was sharing the government house. So it became an uncomfortable spot for her to be in, because we had a child at the time, and logistically it wasn't making sense anymore. So at first it was a temporary move, but then it became more permanent, because I was not getting out of my situation, and there was nothing I was doing to call her back. We got comfortable to the point where we realized she lost her dad eventually. But then there's a time I went to see her, and we were talking. We realized there's nothing between us anymore. So we had that conversation face to face to say, it's not working. This was after a year not staying together. It's not working. Let's just make it official. And we did, Vania. So it was something we talked about together. But in hindsight, again, all of these conversations are happening without a mentor. All of these conversations are happening without counsel.
Because that is exactly what I wanted to ask you.
No mentor.
Because I would think that your father-in-law would have called you at some point. And
He was late.
He was late.
Yeah, so this was after he passed away.
Oh, after he passed away.
I think he would have. He probably would have.
The mother?
The mother, I think it's different. Maybe mother-in-laws feel like they can't call you out as a son-in-law.
Okay.
Very few
Yeah.
can. But father-in-law probably would have. I don't think it would have happened if he was there.
That is why in Tando, I am always very confused about Christianity and church. Because I am feeling that this should have been picked by the church and the people that lead in the church, the friends in church. But in all these things, you are alone, man. As a man of God and as a Christian, you're alone, and this lady is sort of also alone. Without asking for your specific case, what do you think makes us Christians be so much alone because right now my sister is a very devout Christian. She has had a very serious health issue, and it's just us, the family. She's always out and about during the week in these church meetings, like up and about. On Sunday, you don't see her the whole day in church. Come take tea, and groundnuts. But then when suddenly you're in problem,
The church is not there.
it's not there.
It works differently for different churches.
Yeah.
But I would say I haven't seen many churches that get that part really, really right, but they're there. There are some that have good supporting structures, and there are some that put up counseling teams that really reach out and that can come to your houses, but they're not many. I would probably assume, if I'm guessing, for many, it's a case of life is happening to us all as individuals. You find with smaller churches, the pastor is going through life, but he also needs that support structure that you're saying he should be giving, but he's just not telling you that I'm going through life, either financially or emotionally,